All right, so today let's dive into something I think we can all relate to. We all deal with it every single day, and that is hydration. We're going to figure out how much water you actually need each day. And, we've all heard it, the 8 glasses a day rule, but a
Mhm.
recent CNET article kind of blew my mind. It said that there's actually no scientific basis for that.
It's crazy, right? Like how these things get so ingrained in our minds. The truth is way more interesting. Hydration needs, they're like totally personal, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay, so what makes my hydration needs different from somebody else's?
Well, think about it. What does your body use water for? Regulating temperature, transporting nutrients, flushing out waste, all that stuff. And all those processes are affected by things like how active you are, what's the climate like where you live, even if you're pregnant or breastfeeding.
Makes sense. The article actually used a pretty crazy example. Construction workers in a heat wave. The CDC, they recommend those workers drink 8 ounces of water every 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's a great example. External factors, they play a huge role. If you're sweating a ton, your body's working so hard just to stay cool. You got to replenish all those fluids fast. And it's not just like extreme situations either. Even little changes in your activity or the temperature can change how much water you need.
Okay, so where does that leave us? Like, if there's no magic number, what are we supposed to aim for?
Well, there's this concept called adequate intake,
Hmm.
and it takes into account like all the fluids you take in, not just water. So that includes things like milk, sports drinks, even coffee.
Wait a second. Coffee counts. I always thought coffee was dehydrating.
Yeah, that is a common misconception. Caffeine does have like a mild diuretic effect,
Mm-hmm.
but you get so much fluid from coffee, more than makes up for that.
Okay, so that's good news for my morning routine. But even with adequate intake, there are still like some specific numbers. The article said 15.5 cups for men, or 3.7 liters, and 11.5 cups, or 2.7 liters for women. Is that like what we should be sticking to?
Those are really good reference points. But I don't know if I'd call them like hard and fast rules.
Yeah.
I think the key is to use those numbers as a starting point. And then like pay attention to your body. What is your body telling you?
Right. That makes me think about all those other rules of thumb we always hear about. Like, drink when you're thirsty, have a glass before meals, drink half your body weight in ounces. Do any of those really hold up?
They all have their upsides and downsides. None of them are perfect for everyone. Like take drink when you're thirsty, for example. Sounds pretty intuitive, right? But I've noticed for me, my thirst cues can be kind of delayed sometimes. Like I might already be feeling kind of sluggish or headachy before I
Yeah.
even realize I'm thirsty.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely been there. Sometimes I get so wrapped up in work, I'll forget to drink anything for hours. It makes you wonder how reliable is our thirst mechanism, really?
It really does vary person to person. Some people, they're just naturally super in tune with their thirst. But some people, they might need to be more proactive,
Mm.
like thinking about staying hydrated. It's all about finding what works for you.
So, if even drink when you're thirsty isn't foolproof, what about the have a glass of water before each meal strategy?
That one I like. It's nice and simple,
Mm.
and it like connects hydration to your meal schedule, which everyone has, right? Can be a good habit to get into. But again, it might not be enough, especially if you're really active or it's super hot out.
And of course, we already debunked that 8 glasses a day myth, so we're right back where we started with that one. What about that drink half your body weight in ounces rule?
If that's a popular one, it factors in your size, which is definitely a good thing to consider. But it still doesn't account for all the other factors, like how active you are, the climate, even just individual differences in how our bodies use water.
Okay, so all these rules, they've got limitations. And if
Sure.
we can't rely on a set number or even our own thirst, how are we supposed to know if we're hydrated? Like, is there anything else we can look for?
There is. It's something you probably never even thought about for hydration, your urine.
You're telling me my pee can tell me if I need more water.
It can.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly effective. Think of it like a color chart for your hydration level.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So, what exactly should we be looking for when we check our pee color?
Like a spectrum. So if you're well hydrated, it should be pale yellow, almost clear. The darker it gets, the more dehydrated you probably are.
If I'm seeing like a darker yellow, that's a sign I need to drink more.
Exactly. If it starts to look like apple juice, that's a clear sign your body needs fluids. And if you're ever seeing orange or brown urine, you definitely want to call your doctor. That could be a sign of something more serious.
This whole urine color thing, it's making me realize how little I pay attention to my hydration, honestly. I've always just focused on drinking a certain amount of water, but it sounds like listening to my body is just as important.
It is. It's about finding that balance, between
Mm.
proactive hydration and listening to your body's cues.
It really makes you wonder, like, even with all this knowledge, sometimes life just gets in the way. There are days when I'm so busy I barely have time to eat, let alone, like, think about how much water I'm drinking.
I feel that. I think we've all been there. You don't have to be perfect. It's about making mindful choices. You know, even little changes can make a big difference.
Like, what kinds of things? What are some practical things people can do to be more mindful?
Well, one super simple thing is to just have a water bottle with you at all times. Just having it there, you can see it. It can remind you to take sips throughout the day.
I've heard of people setting reminders on their phones to drink water. Does that actually work?
It can be really helpful,
Yeah.
especially if you're someone who gets super focused on work and forgets to drink. There are even apps you can get. They track your water intake and send you reminders.
That's cool. It's like having your own little hydration coach in your pocket.
Exactly. And beyond those external reminders, you can also cultivate a more intuitive sense of your hydration needs.
So, like, really paying attention to our thirst.
Yes, but it goes beyond thirst too. Start noticing how you're feeling throughout the day. Are you feeling tired? Headache? Dry mouth? Those could all be signs of mild dehydration.
Wow, this is so much more nuanced than I thought. It's not just about chugging water all day. It's about understanding the signs, developing healthy habits, and making choices that support, our well-being.
I love that. It's about making hydration a natural part of your day, not a chore or something stressful.
As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's like the one key message you want listeners to take away about being in tune with their hydration needs?
Hmm. The biggest takeaway, I think, is that your body is always communicating with you. You just got to listen, experiment with different things, see what works for you. There's no one right answer. It's all about personalized hydration.
So it's like a spectrum. If you're well hydrated, it should be pale yellow, almost clear,
Right.
and then the darker it gets, the more dehydrated you are. So
Exactly.
like if I'm seeing a darker yellow, that means I need to drink more.
Yep, exactly. And if it starts looking like apple juice, that's a sure sign your body needs more fluids. And definitely call your doctor if you ever see orange or brown urine. That could be a sign of a bigger problem.
This whole urine color thing is making me realize I don't really pay attention to my hydration. I always just try to drink a certain amount of water. But it sounds like listening to my body is important too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's
Yeah.
all about finding that balance, being proactive about it, but also listening to your body.
You know what makes me think, even with all this knowledge, sometimes life just gets in the way, Like, there are days I'm so busy I barely have time to eat, let alone think about how much water I'm drinking.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. I think we've all been there. You don't have to be perfect, just try to make mindful choices. Even small changes can help.
So, like, what are some things people can do to be more mindful?
One simple thing is just keep a water bottle with you,
Yeah.
all the time. Just having it there where you can see it, it can remind you to take sips throughout the day.
I've heard of people setting, like, reminders on their phones to drink water.
Oh, yeah.
Does it really work?
It can be really helpful, especially for people who get super focused on work and forget to drink. There are even apps that'll track your water intake and send you reminders.
Wow, so it's like a little hydration coach right in your pocket.
Exactly. And, beyond those external reminders, you can also learn to just sense your hydration needs better.
So, like, really paying attention to our thirst.
Yeah, but it's more than just thirst. Pay attention to how you're feeling throughout the day. Are you tired? Do you have a headache? Dry mouth? Those could all be signs that you're a little dehydrated.
This is way more nuanced than I thought. It's not about just chugging water all day. It's about being aware, making good habits, and just making choices that support our well-being.
I love that. Yeah, it's about making hydration like a normal part of your day, not a chore or something you stress about.
So as we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive, what's the one thing you want listeners to take away about this?
The biggest takeaway, I think, is just that your body is constantly communicating with you. You just have to listen to it, try different things, see what works best for you. There's no one right way. It's all about personalized hydration.
We've talked a lot about like the nuances of hydration and how personal it can be, but let's get practical. Like what can people actually do to make sure they're getting enough fluids?
Right, right. Well, we talked about a few things already, like carrying a water bottle, setting reminders, but we can go a little deeper. Remember those rules of thumb?
You mean like the drink when you're thirsty, glass before meals, half your body weight in ounces?
Exactly. They're not perfect, but they're a good place to start. It's all about experimenting and seeing what works best for you. Like maybe you're always thirsty. Maybe just waiting until you're thirsty isn't enough. Maybe you need to drink more regularly throughout the day.
I like that, combining strategies. Like maybe you start with the glass before meals thing just to like build the
Yeah,
habit, and then you adjust based on how you feel and what your pee, looks like.
exactly. And don't forget those adequate intake guidelines.
Yay.
Those are good reference points, too. Like, if you're generally healthy and active, aim for, like, 15.5 cups for men, 11.5 for women. It's a good starting point.
It's funny. We started this whole thing by debunking the 8 glasses a day myth, but it sounds like 8 glasses might actually be okay for some people.
It could be, but the difference is now you're aware. You're not just blindly following a rule. You're using it as a guideline and adjusting based on your own needs. That's the important part.
It's not just about how much we drink. It's about paying attention and making, conscious choices.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just the physical stuff, too, like your thirst or your pee color. Think about how you feel when you're hydrated versus when you're not. Do you have more energy? Is your mind sharper? Better mood?
You know what? That's so true. When I'm dehydrated, I feel sluggish, my head hurts, I get grumpy. It's crazy how much of an impact it has on, like, everything.
It really does. And the more you pay attention to those little cues, the better you'll get at knowing how much water you need.
So as we wrap up this hydration deep dive, what's the one thing you want people to remember?
I want everyone to think of hydration as like an experiment. Try different things. See how your body responds. Don't be afraid to adjust. The more you learn about your own needs, the more you can take control of your own health.
This has been a really eye-opening look at hydration. I know I'm walking away with a whole new perspective and some actual things I can try.
That's great to hear. And remember, it's a journey. Every sip you take is a step towards a healthier you.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and stay hydrated.